and Manuch, now on Fox Sports.
You guys are hot.
10.
That's right, the Sandman, Frank Sanders, now on the right to the guest line here on Fox Sports 910. I know it's a long season, Frank, and your prediction's still okay. I mean, you got them winning 10, but losing the way they did last night wasn't good. And with Dallas coming in next week, we may be talking about 0-3. I mean, you still feel good about that 10-win prediction?
I gotta hold on to it, brother. Happy Monday to you guys, man. Unfortunately, I was. I love you, Rock. You don't play fair, Rock. You bring it back to the table, don't you?
Come on now, Coach. We know how it works. Hey, have you been in a game like that where you're up 21 and you lose in that second half? Have you played in a game like that?
No, I have never been up 21 in any one of my games with the Cardinals. I've always been on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, we remember those years, Frank. I was doing the broadcasts. You were never up by 21 at any time during that era. Well, when you see that, the tale of two halves, and just see the aggressiveness with the offense that Pitzing had as the offensive coordinator, and Josh Dobbs was hitting on all cylinders. So what happened to that aggressiveness in the second half? I thought that Pitzing's calls got a little conservative. Even on some of the third and long plays, they were dinking and dunking underneath, hoping for somebody to get a first down.
Well, you're not the only one that recognized that too. I think that was kind of, not necessarily in the back of your mind. You say you want to get a win. You think you're playing at the highest level. This team is absolutely helping you win against them. And they were doing a very good job at the first half. But
right.
That's the beauty of the NFL. It's the tell the two tapes, and once you go into halftime and make adjustments, guys kind of get over that jet lag or whatever it is, or their nerves, and they come back out to play and realize they only got 2 quarters to get it done. They tend to do it very well. Unfortunately, we just came out on the short end of that stick.
And watching Josh Dobbs, I really felt that he looked more comfortable. Timing was good, routes were good. And that second half, I mean, I think the one thing and we talked about this, Frank, about getting the ball down the field. Finally getting that ball down the field with this receiving corps, especially your one guy in Hollywood Brown. Tight ends being used, I thought, properly. James Conner being used properly. The adjustments have got to go to the defensive staff for the Giants versus the offensive staff for the Cardinals.
You know what? It's interesting because everything you're saying is absolutely right. The numbers are there that would indicate that we were very efficient, and we had a game plan, and we was executing that game plan. I think once you got up by 21 points, you kind of felt like you can kind of just do the things you need to do to kind of protect the win and protect the lead, not do anything that would put Josh in a bad position. Allow the offense to kind of just try to push their weight against this Giants defense, but. The second half is different in the NFL across the board, and I would agree with you on that. They made adjustments, got a little more pressure on Joshua. Start eating up our third downs, and we were 3 and out for the most part of the second half. And unfortunately, that was our mistake somewhere along the lines. And once the team gets hot like they did, and they kind of got that momentum swing, it was definitely hard to overcome it.
All right, then that's my follow-up question, the momentum swing. You've been there before when you think you've had a team and all of a sudden that big mo changes. Is it just almost nowhere where you can really right the ship and get it back for your team? Or do you just see what happened to the Cardinals yesterday?
This is what I noticed in my timeline is that I think anytime, and this is me watching when we've been down and had to come back, or when we were on the other end of the spectrum. And I said that jokingly that I was primarily on the other end of the spectrum. Jake got 24 comebacks for a reason. But the reality is that I think it's the veteran leadership. When you realize that the other team is kind of getting that spark, you kind of realize that, hey man, we're doing something wrong. We got to go back to being aggressive. The veteran quarterback, he starts he's a little more gutsy and doing different things. And, the offense the guys become a little bit more focused in their focus on, third down, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, or, 2nd and 5. And, guys they just become a little bit more in tune with what the moment is requiring of you. And somewhere along the lines, we didn't have what they had in the second half. It seemed like we had it in the first half, but in the second half, you saw an absolute transition mentally, emotionally in a team. Now, it doesn't help that they had the crowd there too, so that's definitely not that's a bonus for them, and it carried them all the way to the finish line.
All right, Frank, if that is indeed happening, is that a coaching thing maybe as well because this staff is young and inexperienced?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say this. I mean, they're young and experienced with Arizona Cardinals, but this is still a staff with Jonathan and a DC that was in the Super Bowl last year. So, I mean, I just think there's a veteran leadership sometimes that comes into play. And just from an offensive perspective, defensively, we knew that they had already kind of pinned that defense, back a little bit, and they couldn't do anything to stop the momentum they had. But we didn't do anything offensively to help our defense. You're talking about we scored 8 points in the last half of the game, and they scored 31 points basically, and that in itself just says they got it rolling, and we did nothing that we, whether it be player wise or coach wise, to stop what they were doing.
Frank, you talk about veteran leadership. Budda Baker now out for 4 weeks with him being on the IR. How does that hurt a team that needs a guy like that to get these guys all on the same page?
It's never easy to replace a Budda when you realize the energy that he has and what he the tenacity he brings to the table. Budda presents fear and an offensive and back that's running down the hill or receiver that's coming across the middle.
3 minutes.
But you always know you got a torpedo. I like some of our leadership that we do have. Zaven is definitely one of those leaders, but that guy, Keziah White, man, it's just hard to feel like, the last couple of years we didn't have a Mike linebacker or a linebacker, and we realized we got one in this guy. So I'm pretty impressed with what he's bringing to the table. But Budda himself, man, that's a chess piece on the board that you can do anything with. He's not a pawn. He's a good chess piece on the board. You can move, laterally or across any position you want him to do. The other teams feel better that we lost Budda more so than we do.
And here come the Cowboys this weekend.
Your favorite team.
Yeah, they're thumping people the last 2 weeks.
Frank's a big Cowboy fan, everybody. So let everybody know that.
So what's that text or email you send Jonathan Gannon with all the Cowboy fans who will dominate the Cardinal fans there at State Farm?
Hey, the only thing I can say about the Cowboys that I love about them is that my stats I used to put up against them. So that's really that. When they came here, we wanted to play. Of course, you guys, our fans that remember, I didn't have too many bad games against the Cowboys. But I will say this here, though. Please don't sell your tickets if you're an Arizona Cardinal fan. I know it's a good opportunity to make a lot of good money, but the fan base, the players need
2 minutes
more than anything. And I know that's just, you watch what happened with the Giants yesterday. Imagine being on the reverse end of that. And that's the mentality of it. You got to have your fans there, especially at home. We're trying to get our first win this season. It's very important. But I think the team is going to rally to get ready to go play. They know they got a team that's coming in, a very hungry defense that can play good football. Across the board, that defensive line is some studs. And, this mentality of this week has to be to get one win at all costs and whatever it takes. And they got to find some kind of loophole in the weakness of that Dallas offense or defense to go out and actually try to play 4 quarters of football.
Frank, last one. And to that point about the
1 minute,
teams,
1 minute.
Visiting fans, this team's been here since '88. It's not like they've been here 15 years. What protect the nest? Come on. I mean, this has been ongoing. What is it going to take? Or who's to blame when it comes to this? Because that was ridiculous yesterday. 2 false starts, and we know damn well this was a Dallas city before it was a Cardinal city.
Sure. Yeah.
And it could get really ugly. To your point, don't sell your tickets, but can you point a finger at anybody, or is it just over time it'll change, or it's just we live in a melting pot, people from all over the place?
Man, I've been here with you, and I sat at ASU, man, with those same situations, and the tails always turn. This is a transient city where people come from all over the place. But I think there's a part where the ability to keep your star athletes and your star players, you create that fan base that way by keeping those guys that the fans believe in. Yeah. We saw what happened when the Diamondbacks went out and got guys that was from other teams across the league, and they came out and they just put a winner together, and then the Diamondbacks had the residue for 2 years after that, despite those guys being gone. And I think that's the same thing with the Suns. The Suns have just been able to kind of put together now. Look at the roster. They got a star-studded lineup that you want to go see, whether they're winning or losing, but you don't expect them to lose. And I think there's a time when the Cardinals had that, when we had the Darnell Dockett's and the Anquan Boldens and the names of our receivers, man, Kurt Warners and the Carson Palmers, and we had those guys that would just go out and play. So that window of time was a great fan base, and I think they're trying to get in that place. But look, the league right now is so vast with so many good players, quarterback wise, running back wise, receiver wise, and they're getting all the spotlight. And I think right now, Arizona's a great place to live, and if your team comes here to visit, I don't think you're gonna root for the Cardinals.
Yeah, Frank, we love you, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for the time.
Look forward to it, brother. Y'all got to have a good one. Still believe in 10.
Got it.
Okay, Frank.
You heard it. Frank Sanders got the Cards. Get 10 wins this
10
year.
wins.
It's early yet, Rock.
I know. Early. That's why you got to play. That's why they play the game.
That's
right.
it.
That's why they play the games. Hey, our Learner Row 1